Okay, our next team will present our IAM and Security Team will introduce their achievements. And therefore, I hand over to Kurt, Dominik, and Artem.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Artyom, Dominik, and myself will talk a bit about identity and access management, and we will talk about security. Starting with identity and access management. So you've seen the architecture slide a few times already today. Identity and access management is the vertical on the right side. That was the one that we talk about in the first half of the presentation. And also to kind of make this transparent, because people mentioned the tender packages that have been given. We had one tender package, the tender package 08, that was concerned about identity and access management. Actually, it was one of our smallest tender packages, and that's maybe one of the largest mistakes I made in designing the project, because there's a lot more work that we need to do in that area, and we've achieved quite something, and we have still a lot of work ahead of us based on discussions we are having. This is one of the things we'll certainly continue to see significant work in the future. This package went to Unimension, so they supported us, and we benefited at least from some of the experience they have in their organization, in their company. So just to quickly describe what the vision is for identity management. So basically we have this cloud environment, and then customers inside that cloud have something we call a tenant abstract concept, so some space that belongs to them. And inside that space, they can have several environments they manage. They create these environments, they can change them, they can delete them, and of course there is like quota limits applied to that. And all of that is supposed to be done via a self-service capability. And the same is actually true for the users. So users that should have certain rights, certain authorizations within those environments should be onboarded and also then removed again if needed, and their authorizations changed via self-service from that customer. So the customer has self-management capabilities. To kind of take it to the next level, user authentication is something that people tend to be annoyed of, because they have this password safe with 100 passwords. So that's not how people want to do that. So typically, people use identity providers where authentication can be delegated to. And that's what we try to enable with a federation. So instead of managing users locally on a cloud environment, we want to have the capability for users to say, well, I want to basically delegate out this authentication question towards my own enterprise directory where I manage my users. And what is managed there typically is the user identity and obviously the authentication, so passwords or whatever is being used, hopefully maybe also some second factor involved there. And importantly, also certain attributes, most importantly, the attribute to which groups, it's typically plural, to which groups a user belongs, because then based on that groups, we can attach authorizations later. And then those users can get access to the tenant inside that cloud, and then maybe later on inside many SCS clouds. And then based on the attributes, most importantly, group membership, authorizations can be managed also, again, via self-service on that platform. So the translation of group membership into what authorizations do I have happens locally in the clouds. And obviously, some rules need to be in place that somebody who manages his own tenant can never, of course, determine rights outside of his own tenant. Very obvious requirement, just to make sure that the very, very simple architecture remains secure. So that's how this could look like. So you have this concept of a customer tenant. That customer tenant has users and groups and environments and authorizations that belong to that customer tenant. And the users and the groups can come from an external identity provider. There can be also local users and local groups, and then there could be some policies that either allow or disallow having both in place, because some customers may have the requirement that any user must come from the external identity provider in order to be sure there's no one left, for example, after somebody leaves a company. So this is just to translate the concepts that I just described into what this means on our technology, on our platform. So we look at the identities. We want to manage them centrally inside the cloud. And the place where we currently do this is we have like one central Keycloak per cloud. And that's where the identity federation and the local users are being managed. And then those users can be consumed, used by both the virtualization layer, OpenStack, and the container layer, Kubernetes. Translating the concept we have into the virtualization, the customer tenant becomes an OpenStack domain. The customer environments inside that tenant would be OpenStack projects. The handling of authorizations become role assignments, which you can do directly to users. Typically, it's done to groups to make it more manageable. And then the domain manager persona is something we've worked on during the project, is something that has a clean abstraction of how the self-service happens within OpenStack. And the management of the federation configuration happens inside a Keycloak realm that the customer owns and that corresponds to the tenant. And similar on the container layer, we translate the environments to several Kubernetes clusters that you can have, and then authentication will be the client certificates you use to talk to your Kubernetes API. And you could also use Keycloak federated certificates for that. Authorizations are RBAC rules that are being applied there. And you could also build, and that's something that's rather advanced usage, something where you just for every authorization decision have a callback, a webhook that decides that. Not something we want to have by default, but of course it's an option you always have. With that, I hand over to Artyom, who can tell us a bit about the status where we are, what is working, and then some of the future challenges we have.
Thank you. Kurt asked me basically, he said to me that he will do a short introduction and then hand over to me, like 2 minutes. And now I need in real time to rethink everything what I would be talking. So generally, what the huge problem, there are like at least million ways how to do identity, and there are at least 10 million ways how to do it wrong. Because basically with every decision that you are doing, you are introducing new variation in the overall solution, and you are introducing new vulnerabilities. And we all perfectly know that at least here in Europe nowadays, everything what deals with identity means also data privacy. So doing identity management wrong, you are introducing again vulnerability on how to violate data privacy rules. Anyway, so that is a short explanation to maybe not so promising or not so good state that we have achieved. We definitely haven't achieved everything what we needed, but that is a sort of explanation why the topic overall is so complex. So generally, we were talking with multiple CSPs and trying to gather their view on identity and what they want to actually achieve. I'm also quite a long time already in OpenStack, and I was also talking with multiple CSPs outside of SCS. And I can surely tell you that there are no two CSPs in the world that would share the same functional requirements. Therefore, it is actually a challenge already to gather all those functional requirements. Second would be to try to combine them into single functional set, explicitly that some of those functional requirements would be violating with each other. So it's not so easy. Next step, what we have done, we tried to actually take what is already there in the OpenStack world and try to improve it a little bit. So we added some different methods of authentications and authorizations to existing tools. We have definitely improved some mapping capabilities in the Keystone. Next thing I said already. And we have developed one solution or idea. We implemented one idea that we thought would cover everything. Apparently not. That is why we are also not there yet. Anyway, the idea is to have something like that. On the left side, you see customer domains. On the right side, you see, press a button. Try to find the button for the TV. Okay, thank you, Kurt. On the left side, we have domains. On the right side, we have customer realms in, let's say, our central identity. Let it be Keycloak or let it be any other solution, but we have, so to say, exclusive realm for every customer that we want. And in the middle, there is currently, maybe it will stay, maybe it will go away. It's still unclear about proxy broker realm that would try to combine all of that together so that at the end of the day we have just a single connection to our cloud, but maybe it's not the right way. Basically, let's go next. Limitations. Domain manager role upstream. What we have done, we have implemented domain manager role. I think in next slide there would be a little bit more explanation. It was first done downstream, basically part of SCS explicitly, and at the same time we also took work and upstreamed the solution. So for the next release of SCS, we would need to basically get rid of everything what is done downstream and switch to upstream only. Limitations of the current approach. Basically, if you want to grant access to the user in the current scheme, the user needs to first log in to appear in the system. And that is actually not the right way or not the most efficient way. There is also a tech preview on how to deal with that limitation by rethinking again the model to some extent. We also took work as a reference of our other friendly CSPs and tried to move a next step from there. But this is at the moment still a tech preview, maybe right way, maybe not right way. We have identified that at least with the current approach, there is also a problem with offboarding users because one of the ideas in the federation is that it deals with user authentication and authorization, but it doesn't deal with actually storing identities. That means that once user gets revoked or gets fired or leave the company, we need to revoke his accesses to the systems. And that is not part of the typical OpenID Connect, SAML, whatsoever other federation protocols. They simply physically don't deal with those aspects. Therefore, also here we have some ideas how to potentially deal with that. There are also existing standards in the world that deal with that, or at least claim to deal with that topic. Then, therefore, we would have a deeper look on them. Domain manager. Very quickly, we would like, or every CSP is willing that a customer is having a dedicated person who is able to deal with all of those identity relevant things inside of their own tenant. That means that this person needs to be able to manage users, manage groups, manage projects, and also authorize access to users for the users to the projects, either via groups or via direct assignments or whatsoever, 10 million other ways how to actually deal with that. As I said already, it was implemented first downstream. We have successfully upstreamed that in the current release cycle, in the current development cycle of OpenStack. Therefore, it would be included already in the release, in OpenStack release that is coming out this autumn. In a month or so, yeah. just a short list of links of everything what we have done here, basically regarding the domain manager role. The list may be relatively short, but again, as it is easy to make identity wrong, it took quite some time to actually bring everything to ensure that we are doing things correctly. Identity federation future. What we would like to achieve that it is possible to list all the federated users in the customer realm even before they log in first time. Here, different trade-offs, potential solutions, and definitely we have figured out that what was not on the radar previously is now definitely there. We need to deal with so-called global users or just regular users that would like to access system, and maybe he would like to access multiple tenants. So that is the place where we see just a standard approach of placing a user into a certain realm is not as a concept. It doesn't work anymore because you want to have some separate users that are having access to different tenants. And here, those may be willing to log in, like, for example, using GitHub account, using Facebook account, whatsoever. Just it means that they may be willing to use different ways of authentication and not to keep the same account in multiple realms 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, meaning password everywhere. Actually, that's it. As I said, there are too many ways how to do it wrong, therefore it takes time and brain power.
Coming to security, I represent the team for VP09C. Colleagues from Spain, they didn't make it today due to the long travel, so I represent their efforts and present the results in the security domain. What has been done? There was both theoretical and practical implementation work. The first one I want to highlight is the pentesting assessments they did last year against testbed instances, so the IaaS layer that we are working with. They are professional pen testers, penetration testers, security experts. They did security assessments of the testbed instances and everything they found, any security vulnerabilities, any issues, they reported, and we got into an exchange into how to fix things, and so that the results of the assessments could practically be implemented into the upstream project. Second part of the work of VP9C is the practical implementation of a so-called automated pen testing pipeline or tooling. And this is both implemented for the IaaS and the KaaS layer. And why do we do this? Because we want to provide a set of tools that are tested and configured in a bundle and specifically tailored to the attack surfaces that are present in the SCS infrastructure, so that we kind of reduce unknowns and also improve manual pen tests, because they don't have to cover the automatic pen test as well. It's already been done, so they can focus on specific things. If you hire someone from outside, for example, they can go directly into their specific focus. But there's not only VP9C, there's also the SCS community, and I want to highlight this, that even though there's a tender for security, the topic of security is all present all around the community. Every one of you, every CSP especially, might have been in contact with some issues that were security related. We have a lively culture of discussions around CVEs, which are public information about security vulnerabilities and best practices. We are also involved in processes of handling discovered vulnerabilities in upstream projects. We are drafting or publishing even standards that are for security-related focus topics, best practices, and so on. And we, of course, share our knowledge and write blog posts, be it about CPU vulnerabilities, so the hardware layer, or OpenStack, or even Kubernetes. And to give you a short overview over the security tooling that we developed for IaaS, it's a collection of tools, as I said, and what it basically does is present a CI/CD pipeline, which is in this case implemented in Zool, which has multiple steps, and all these tools work together in one pipeline. They scan different things in the platform, discover different vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and in the end, all of them create reports, put them in a central instance, which is in this case Defect Dojo, and then the team at the CSP side is able to handle upcoming issues, detect misconfigurations, and so on. And just be quick in all the things that can be detected automatically, so they don't have to wait until someone tells them, yeah, I broke into your system, nice to know what you do, and so you can be proactive in your security team. And last week we also finished the work on the KaaS layer, so Kubernetes-focused security tooling is also available now. We are focusing on the Trivy tooling there. Some of you might know it. And we have both manual or ad hoc scans from outside, as well as Trivy as an operator that can continuously run in Kubernetes clusters. And we also built an export feature, which is not available by default. I don't know why, but if Trivy runs in your Kubernetes cluster and creates reports, this tool that we added exports these reports into an offsite storage or into outside of the cluster, in this case S3 or Swift. And Trivy also offers the detection of misconfiguration or other cluster issues and so on. So there's a whole lot of things covered. And as an outlook, I want to highlight that this week we published a new blog post which explains in detail what has been done and what you can do with the tooling, how to deploy it, how to get quickly started with it, and how to best use the pipeline and the tooling in your infrastructure. And yes, every CSP is invited to deploy their own pipeline instance and to try the tools. And if you have feedback or if you need any assistance, then please contact me or the team for security.